In the world of consoles, there are two basic families. You have digital consoles and you have analog consoles. Now that has not always been the case. Before the concept of digital, everything was analog. Anybody know what the term analog means?
More like hardware, like
Sort of,
manual.
but in the most generic sense, what an analog is.
Something you can touch with your hands, I don't know.
Huh?
Something you can touch with your hands. It's not digital.
Yeah.
Something that uses only physical technology without.
Like it doesn't
Well,
have a
sort of.
Like it doesn't have a screen. Like
Okay, I think,
Well-
okay.
I don't know. I'm just thinking watches.
In the strictest sense, analog, it means a direct relation between two things. You've heard the term to create an analogy, okay? You would say that the French franc, is analogous to the US dollar because it's a form of currency, okay? Before there was digitization, or the process of digital, there was nothing but analog. Digital is relatively a new concept, really only became popular around the middle 90s, and now of course it has swept the entire world. In which case consoles like this still exist, but they're not used as prevalently as they were, because before there was digital, there was only these. So everything that you are around the room is considered to be a digital console. They essentially function the same, but they do it in a little bit different fashion. What they're doing is they're actually converting electricity into a series of numbers which represent electricity. This has no conversion on it, whatever. This is nothing more than electricity. All it's dealing with is electronic signals. In the digital world, it's converting electronic signals into digital code, which represent electronic signals. Now, so in this class, we're going to introduce you to an analog type console, and we're going to introduce you into two digital type consoles. Don't let its size intimidate you, because it is large, but if you look at it in detail, what you're going to find is a bunch of repetitions, things that happen over and over again. So there's really no difference between what's happening on this vertical strip that says 25 and on this vertical strip that says 26. There's no difference on the vertical strip of 48 and the vertical strip on 1. They're just repetitions of each other. If you understand what everything does on one of the vertical strips, you understand what everything does on all of them. So don't be overwhelmed with its size. Just if you understand one, you're going to understand them all. And the same thing holds true over here. This is a vertical strip. It is exactly the same as this one, and this one, and this one, and this one, and this one. Here's a vertical strip. That's repeated here and here and here. Here's a vertical strip repeated over and over again. So really all you got to understand is 1, 2, 3, 4 strips, and you understand the entire console. Okay. Now, okay. If you see a round port that has a hole, point to a port that has a hole. No, go up. There you go. There you go. Okay. It has 3 holes. Okay. Anything that it's round and has 3 holes is called an input. Anything that is round and has 3 pins is an output. So point to the outputs. There you go. Those are the outputs. these are the inputs. Now, quickly, you can now assess some rather significant numbers. For instance, how many inputs are there?
48.
There are 48. So all that means, and each one of these represents a mic input. So you could take essentially 48 microphones. If you had 48 microphones and 48 mic cables, you could plug them all into this console simultaneously, and this console will deal with them as independent contractors. What's coming into 48 will be dealt with exactly the way it's what's being dealt with input 1. So you can see why a big console is necessary with a group that has a lot of musicians. You've got to have the facility to have lots of microphones or lots of inputs to accommodate the number of instruments and the number of musicians. So the question is, how many outputs are there? Okay, outputs. All right, let's start with the main output. Any live console is going to have primarily, it's going to have a main output. And generally that main output is called the stereo output. The stereo output is what feeds the speakers that are being listened to by the audience. So when you go to a concert, and you hear what's coming through the speakers. What's coming through the speakers is generally generated by what's called the stereo output. Now, what does stereo mean?
Left and right.
Well, it actually means two. Now, we associate those two outputs with being left and right, but they're not necessarily left and right until you configure them left and right. Now, for the purposes of our discussion, we will consider them to be a left and right output. Now, even though the speakers are facing the wrong way, because they would be facing this way, this is going to be we're going to pretend that this is our left speaker and this is our right speaker. Well, we don't have to pretend because it's on the left side and that's on the right side. So what it means is that on the stereo output, output 1, or what we would consider to be the left output, is going to be wired and connected to the left speaker. Does all that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Output 2, which we're going to affectionately refer to as the right output of the stereo output, is going to be connected to that speaker. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn it on. So Pat, you want to hit that?
Can I
thing
do the
that says
honors?
Furman and watch what
Yes.
happens. Okay.
Where else?
Look. Okay. You see the 5 amber lights across each one of those power supplies?
Yes.
Each one of those is what's called a voltage rail. And each one of those is providing the specific voltage to a certain part of the console. If those rails, all those lights all don't come up, that means something is being denied its voltage, which means you either have a bad capacitor inside the power supplies and you immediately want to shut it down. You don't want to have the console being starved of electrical signal. The other thing is you can see up here, see these lights here? They're exactly the same as what's on the power supplies. So if those guys all come up, then you know the console is in operational. Okay?
Gotcha.
Now, console's on, but we have no way of hearing anything because we don't have the power amps on. So right above, right at the top of the rack, there's another power display. You see it?
I do.
Okay, it should be a juice goose, is it not?
Yes.
Now turn it on and watch what happens to the amps.
Turn a little doom.
Oh, okay. There they are.
Like the speakers.
Now you should see lights everywhere. down
I see
there,
lights
right?
everywhere.
Which what that means is now the power amplifiers are ready to receive the output signal of the console and send it over here to the speaker and cause these things to start vibrating. Okay? Now, we shut it off we shut it off exactly opposite of how we powered it up. So go ahead and power it down.
Yep.
Legacies.
Nope.
Nope.
Oh, we'll use this one.
Yep.
Remember, the whole system can be powered up by
You don't.
two switches.
You don't flip the
turn
red.
off the power supplies.
Yeah. Leave
Keep
those
the
on.
power supplies on. Okay. Now power it back up.
Remember, it's yeah. Just hit that. And you gotta wait for it to come on. I think.
Okay. Almost.
Almost.
Before you turn the amps on, let these guys stabilize.
So wait for it to.
Just wait for it to do its thing.
Gotcha.
Okay. And that's the way it is with every. Now, on the digital consoles, believe me, they take time to come on. You know why?
Software.
Yeah, because they're computers, basically. All they are is computers. So they're going to have to wake up their operating system. So you can't immediately turn on the power amps while the digital consoles are activating, because you can cause a surge and a spike. Because as soon as that console comes on, it goes boom like that, and that could send a voltage spike. And if the speakers are on in a big, huge system, you do not want to put a voltage spike through a big, huge system in subs. You can. I'm sure they teach you the same thing over there. Is you always want to. Console goes on first, off last. On first, off last. This console defaults to something that, unless you turn it off, you're going to be limited in terms of your function. Right in the center, almost dead center, there is a light that says lock. See it? And then there's a little square red. Oh, okay. Hit the square red switch below it.
Is it store?
No, lock. Hit it. See what you just did? You unlocked the console.
So we could.
So before you do anything, do
Unlock
that.
it.
All right?
It automatically locks
Could you do it
Yeah.
again? Or could you say where it's at again?
right here.
Like hit, lock it. Okay. When it comes up, that is the default status. What I want you to do is unlock it, and by unlock it, just hit the switch. We're going to take the electricity that comes off this microphone, and we're going to transmit it down this copper wire. And we're going to take this copper wire using this connector, and we're going to plug it right into input number 8. So where it's coming in is right here. Now, when I tap on this, see that little meter down there? You'll actually see the meter move slightly. Can you see that? Yeah. Now I'm beating the shit out of this thing. And you can see that the level is very, very low. All right. So, the first object is to get this signal up to where it's usable. Okay? Well, here's how you do it. Because it is not to be done arbitrarily. It's to be done systematically. So the first thing you're going to do is, you see that little red fader over there? Bring it up to 0. Right up to 0. Don't be afraid of it. Okay? Now, input 8 fader, bring that up to 0. All the way, just crank it up. There you go. Okay. Then what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to tell this signal, I want you to jump onto the output that is called the stereo output. Because right now, it's not going anywhere. It's just coming in. We have not attached it to the stereo output, because the stereo output feeds what? That speaker and that speaker, okay? Right above the solo switch, there is a switch that says ST. See it? Press it.
Gotcha. Awesome.
Okay.
What does ST stand for?
Stereo.
Oh.
Okay, your ST. Okay. Now disengage that switch and watch what happens. It goes away. Now, is it actually killing the signal?
No, it's just.
It's just not allowing it to get to the output, because
So it'll be like cutting the wire in half. Almost.
well, essentially what you're doing is it's joining the wires when it's pressed in, And then when you release it, it disconnects. It's like turning a light switch on and off. If you turn a light switch off, does that mean you are killing the power coming from the house?
No.
No, it just means you're killing the power going to the light. Right. So press that down. Now, that's not very loud, is it? Okay. Nope. So what you want to do, you see this little knob over here? You know what this is called, incidentally? It's called a preamp.
Oh.
And there is a big knob over here at the top of every one of these inputs. If I say something is pre, what does that mean to you?
Before.
Before, right. Preamp. What does that mean? It's the before amplifier, or you could say it's the first amplifier. It's where this signal first is gathered. And now watch what happens. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. See what I just did? Now look at the meter. What's the meter doing? It's jumping, isn't it? It's a lot louder, a lot bigger than what it was. Because that meter is referencing the signal at that preamp. Okay?
So that's not turning up the output, it's turning up the
It's
input.
turning up the input, right? We're bringing up the input before it goes to the out. How do we turn down the output? Well, you can turn it down there. Okay. Now all you're doing is you're taking. Think about this: signal flow comes out of the mic, into there, and then ultimately where? Yeah, because bring that down. Bring the red. So that fader right there controls the master output of everything on this console. Anything that's assigned to the stereo output, that is your final stage of gain. Following? Huh?
That's why it says masters.
Okay. So if you think about it, before it gets to the power amplifiers, down there, it goes to that. If that's not up, I don't care what you're doing over here. It ain't getting out of the console, or you are bringing down the gain, right? Okay. Yes,
Does
ma'am.
the order matter? Because you turn these on first, but what if we do this?
No,
like those?
no, the order does matter. So I'm going to tell you the order. Okay, the order is to bring. Take it off that. Bring that down. Okay, bring that down. Okay. Master up. Bring the master up. Individual up. Stereo switch. Gain until I tell you to stop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Stop. Okay? Now, when you zero out the console, which indeed you will be zeroing out the console, you'll do it in reverse. That, stereo, individual, master. Okay? So we'll keep the routine the same, just inverted. Okay? This is true, it's universal. This is the way it's done everywhere. If you follow this and you want to impress somebody, you do this, this is how they're going to be impressed. They're going to say, who the hell taught you this? This is how it needs to be done.